Hey Sugar Snaps, welcome to the Textile Indie YouTube channel. My name is Brittany. If you're new here, welcome in. If you're an old friend, welcome back. So glad to have you. Today I want to share a quick tutorial. It's actually a paper basket and I'm using basketry techniques from my basketry that I do with Reed to show you the basics of reed basketry. So if you're interested in reed basketry but you're not quite sure if you want to invest in the materials or in the trainings on how to do that, I would love to show you how to weave this little guy. This uses a lot of the techniques that I use, like I said, in my basketry projects, and will kind of get you a sense of what it's like. This I use cardstock. You could also use printer paper, though it's a little bit flimsy, but it's something that you may already have in your home, or you can spend $3 on some cardstock and test it out before investing in reed materials. I have several reed weaving courses on my website, and we just relaunched the basketry immersion courses, so now we have them set up into four different segments, each containing 3 baskets. And the idea is kind of that you start with course 1 and you work through all 4 courses to get a sense and build your repertoire of skills in reed basketry. But if you see some baskets in those courses that you want to try and you want to dive right in, you can. Just know there's going to be some that are a lot more challenging than others. So if you are interested in playing around with the idea of basketry, let's dive into this little tutorial. I'll put the courses links in the description below. You can check those out for more information, and we have a full page of information on our website, textileindie.com. So I'd love for you to check those out. Now let's dive into this little tutorial. For your little basket, you're going to need several sheets of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. I'm using a cardstock because it's a bit heavier weight, and that will allow us some extra stability when weaving our basket. Here I have 3 sheets. This should be enough to make a small basket. I also have a paper cutter, but you are welcome to use scissors, paper scissors, if that's more comfortable, or if you don't have a paper cutter. And then I'm also going to use Scotch tape, so just basic tape adhesive. Now step number 1 is to cut your paper into 1/2 inch wide strips like these. So you can do this on your paper cutter or measure it out with a ruler and cut it, draw in lines and cut it with scissors if you would prefer to do that. I'm going to eyeball this, line up the bottom of the paper with the straight edge on my paper cutter so that I end up with a straight strip, cut it, and there are some strips for my basket. And you'll cut until you've cut 1/2 inch strips all the way across all 3 pages. This will give you enough to start out with. Okay, so we're going to lay out the base now. So I want you to lay out 5 of the paper strips parallel to each other with a small space in between. And I'm eyeballing the space, but it's about 1/4 inch apart. Like so. So that's 5 strips going in that direction. Now I'm going to weave in 5 strips going in the opposite direction, and I'm going to take a piece of Scotch tape that's the width of my strips and just stick it right on the end so it just gently holds those in place without sticking it directly to the table or firmly to the table, because I do want to be able to pull that up later. So now I'm going to weave with a new strip. I'm going to go over 1, under 1, over, under, over, and move this up. I want it off-centered so that I can weave more strips in. So on this next strip, I started here with an over and then I went under. So now I'm going to go under the first one, under this first one, over, under, like so. And you can see that opposite pattern is starting to hold the strips together. And now another piece. We're going to do 5 in this direction as well. So over, under, over, under, over, tuck it in. So 2 more here. Under, over, under, over, under. And last one. Over, under, over, under, over. Okay, so now I want to make sure that there's the same amount on this end as there is on this end, so I'll scoot these down just a little bit because from my angle it looks like the one side's bigger than the other. And now I'm going to scrunch these together just a bit so that my base is a little bit tighter, and now I can remove this tape. I'm gently going to pull that off the end there, set that aside. You can reuse that tape later if you want. And then inch these a little bit closer in this direction. So we're just squaring things up, making sure the base is nice and sturdy. Okay, so there's that. Now I'm going to take this piece of tape, my scrapped piece of tape, and cut just little pieces, because for this paper basket things are going to move. So I want to tape down the corners and do a little strip of tape over each corner just to make sure that those don't shift on me. I'm getting some fuzz in there actually, so I'm going to use a new piece of tape. Tape these corners down, and this just ensures that things stay in place as we move forward with the basket weaving. Okay, I'll do one more of these center pieces here and here, like so, and then maybe one here. You don't have to do all of them because it will start to hold together eventually, but just a few is good because then you can move this around and it won't shift on you. Okay, next up is to upset our strips or the stakes of the basket. So right along the edge of this stake, I'm going to fold these up like so. All the way around. And I'll fold this side as well. And any piece that's sitting on top of the perpendicular, you can put your thumb right where that crease would be and create the crease right at that same point, lining it up with the edge of the paper. Like so. In basketry, this is called upsetting because you're setting up the stakes to start training them to build the walls of the basket. Lovely. Now our base is starting to train. These will be the walls of the basket, but we'll need the rest of our strips to weave around. And my basket, because I made my base about 2.5 inches across here, guesstimate, I'm going to need to tape a few strips together to be able to weave these. So I'm going to line up 2 strips here, like so, maybe a bit of overlap just so that it stays together, and then take a piece of tape and tape these together on both sides to ensure that this is nice and sturdy. It's hard to pick up the paper off of this table. Okay, so now I have a sturdy strip to start out with, and I am going to do a little piece of tape to hold this in place. So if you flip your basket up like this, take the end, a piece of paper that's sitting on top of a stake, so it's loose like this, you're going to go behind that one and tape this to the corner stake. So I'm going to take the piece of tape, loop it over this end and around to the back of the stake like so. And then, so I went over this one, under, over, weave under this guy, over the corner. I'm going to create a crease in my weaver, which is this piece of paper here that I'm weaving with. Go under the next one, turning that corner, making kind of a nice tight corner, and continue to weave over under. And you can come in with a little piece of tape every once in a while if you feel like you need it to tape this down on top of the stake where you want it to stay so it doesn't shift on you. As we start to weave rows, it will pack them down and hold them in place, but this first row is a little tricky because it doesn't want to move on you. So putting a little piece of tape in the corners here is not a bad idea to keep it less frustrating as you weave. Around here, turn, like so. Okay, and then I'll put another piece of tape on this guy because it wants to lift up on me, like so. And then I'll turn this corner, create a little crease, turn. That's an under, so I'll go over, under, over, under. And now I'm back to where I started. And for this little guy, I'm actually going to go back and do one more little piece of tape here because this wants to fly out on me. Like so. Turn the corner, create my little crease, and then I am going to overlap by covering this starting end, going behind this second one, over the third one, and then cut behind or to the far edge of that fourth, and then tuck this behind that fourth stake. And then for this little paper guy, paper basket, I would tape it. In my typical basketry techniques, I don't tape or glue my weavers in place like this. This is specifically for paper basketry, just to hold it in place so that you can move forward without the frustration of things moving or possibly ripping on you. Now I need to tape another 2 strips together for my next row. So yet again, I'm going to line these up next to each other, create a little piece of tape, tape these together. Like so. And then I'm going to shift my basket a quarter turn from where I started. So if my overlap is right here, here's my end. I'm going to turn the basket a quarter turn and start on this side. So I'm going to go under this second one and let the end sit on this first guy here. And I'll put a little piece of tape there to make sure that doesn't shift on me. Like so. And now you can go under, over, around, turn the corner, create a little crease in your weaver so you have a nice crisp corner. You could also curve it so that it doesn't have a crease and do more of a rounded shape in your corner if you want that instead. It's a little harder to get that with the paper just because it wants to crease or fold. It's a little more flimsy. Okay, and then this corner, the crease, and then go around here. Make sure that as you weave the corners, you stay on pattern. You don't accidentally go over both at the same time. And as you go around with your row, when you get back to where you started, it will kind of tattletale on you. And if you end up off pattern and don't end up over where you need to be, then you'll need to circle back and see where it is that you have gotten off pattern and reweave a little bit maybe to get back on pattern so that you're covering that end, overlapping and tucking your end of your weaver behind this fourth stake. So now I'm going to tape this in place just so it doesn't move on me and secure this. Rotate it a quarter turn from the side that I just started and ended on, and then start on this side. So I'll tape 2 more strips together to create a new weaver, and I'm going to do 5 rows on this basket. So let's go ahead and weave our 5 rows, taping the weavers together here, putting tape on both sides to ensure that they're nice and sturdy. Weave around 5 rows, and then I'll show you how to finish it off. Once you've woven that last 5th row, we're going to go around the basket and straighten out the stakes. Things shift a little bit as you're weaving, so I like to adjust them, just make sure that they're standing straight up. And then you can go through and pack your rows a bit to ensure that there aren't any awkward spaces or anything that's going to have holes in the sides of your basket. Now what we're going to do is a technique called cut and tuck. So all of the stakes that are in front, or strips that are in front of that top row, you're going to fold over flush with that top row of weaving. And I go around and do all the folding first just to make sure that I catch all of these and don't get mixed up cutting and tucking. So fold all of these over, flush with that top row. It's pretty easy with the paper. And then all of those in or behind, we're going to fold to the outside of the basket. And I'm folding again flush with that top row, creating a nice crisp crease. And there are all your pieces folded. Now we're going to tuck the ones to the inside behind a weaver if they're long enough to tuck in. So if you reach in, you can fold them and kind of hide them behind one of the weavers inside. If they're too short, you can use a piece of tape to come in and tape them down to the inside. This isn't a problem. Typically, I would try to extend it down if I was weaving with reed, but for the paper, the tape works totally fine. So you can come in and put tape there. I ended up with a lot of short stakes here, so I'll probably end up taping most of these. Now when you come to the outside, I like to cut these strips down so that they're just the length of that first upper row of weaving, and then tape that little flap down in place. So I don't really disturb the weave pattern as much as if I extended it down multiple rows. So just that one row, and then create a little piece of tape, tape that down, and you'll do this for each of these pieces that are folding to the outside of the basket. And that's my last one. And there I have a small paper basket. These are basic techniques that I use, and you now have a cute little paper basket with your basic plain weave pattern. You can come in and color or paint or decorate this in whatever way you would like, or leave it plain if you like it plain. You could make these out of colorful paper or glitter paper, printer paper, if that's what you have on hand. So they're very versatile and a great quick project. So this little basket is super easy to make. You can do it out of a lot of different types of paper. Do bright spring colors or summer colors, or do black and have something that's more muted. Make it to fit your situation. And these make great little office organizers. If you weave a few, they can hold some office knickknacks. The bottom having holes in it, you may want to cut a little piece of square paper to fit in the bottom to block the holes, but they do make great little cute storage devices. And the techniques that I just taught you are techniques that I teach in Reed Basketry in my online courses. Again, the links to those are in the description below. And I have a wide variety of different baskets that I teach on my website and in those courses. So you can learn the grid basket, like this little paper basket where we weave an open bottom. I also teach a closed base basket where we weave in the base so it's solid, so nothing can fall out of your basket. We also go over ribbed basketry, which is slightly different and makes some very unique and fun, complicated looking baskets, but it's pretty simple once you get the technique down. And then some spiral round basket techniques. So lots of different things that you can learn in those courses and expand your basketry knowledge. And how fun is it to weave your own basket and then be able to say, I wove that. Being able to put your projects in a basket that you wove is super exciting and very fulfilling and satisfying. So again, if you're interested in checking out those courses, check the description below. I put the information there, and all of the information is on our website, textileindy.com, if you want to hear more. These are great springtime gifts, also May Day baskets or just treat baskets for springtime. They can store little bits of fruit or berries if you pick berries in the summer. So lots of versatility with this little guy. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and subscribe so that you get notified whenever I put out a new video. Like this video to support my channel. I really appreciate it when you do that, and I will see you in my next video. Happy making. See you later.